In this video, we'll be looking at how to export a video, which means taking it from Adobe Premiere Pro into a video format such as MP4, which then you could upload to YouTube or you could share with someone else. So first thing first, there's a few things you need to keep in mind. You want to make sure that you have sufficient hardware to render a video. As I said before, I would recommend at least 8 GB of RAM. Anything below that, and computers tend to struggle. So first thing is, once you finish the video, you might notice that there's a red line above here. What this means is that you have videos that have not been rendered. There are 2 steps to when actually making a video or exporting a video. The first is to actually render it, which actually means to construct it. So basically compile all the audio elements, the video elements into one image or one video. And the second step is then to create it into a different sort of file format, such as MP4. So to save time, what you can do is you can pre-render. So the way you do this is you press enter, and you'll notice it will do what's called a pre-render. So depending on the length of the video, it might take longer on the size and complexity of your video. Okay, so you'll notice now that it's now a green line, which means that you've done a pre-render. Now, the second reason why we pre-render is that it will ensure that we have a smooth playback when we're testing our videos out. So you can see here that this is what the final product will look like. So what we'll do now is I'll show you how to export a video. So the way you do that is you go to File, Export, and then select Media. Okay, so you have a few options here. One of the things you might want to do is you might have to resize your window because you won't be able to see the bottom buttons depending on the resolution of your computer screen. So on the left-hand side here, you can see a snapshot of your proposed video. First thing first is you've got to be really careful down here is that you can actually render small chunks of your video if you want to test the quality. If you want to render the whole video, my suggestion is you go to source range at the bottom here, and then in the drop-down box, you select the entire sequence. Otherwise, it may not render the whole sequence. So the first thing you might want to check when you go for export settings is what is the proposed format. So you go Format. There are many different options here. Each has their advantages and disadvantages. My advice for your typical YouTube video is to use the H.264, which is a type of MP4 video. So don't use the MP4 video that you might see in the menu here, down the bottom here. I would suggest use H.264 for your typical, it's a different type of compression of MP4. So we select that. Then you can select your bit rates. This is really important. The higher the bit rate, the smoother your animation is. If you're looking to have still a good animation but not have too much of a strain on downloads for YouTube, I would suggest you set this to medium bit rate. This will also help with the rendering time. You can also put comments in the video there if you want to for a later time. Most importantly, it's not very clear, but an output name here, this little blue text, is where you're going to be outputting or saving your video to. So the way you change location is you select the blue text, and then you select the location of where you would like it to be exported or rendered to. So make sure you give it a meaningful name. So I'm going to call mine Minecraft Final Video. Okay, you can see the format here is .mp4. Press Save. Now, you can also check here that you're happy with the resolutions. Okay, I'm happy because these are the two so this is the resolution they will output to, and this is the resolution that I was working with inside Premiere Pro. So remember, certain different codecs or different formats will compress and change this. So be very careful what format you select. Then you've got a few different options down the bottom here. You can put a time code on there if you're paranoid about or you want people to know when this was created, so you can date it. This is really useful for maybe if you're doing pre-production, you're trying to show the dates you're working on, Also good too if maybe you're doing an assignment or show a teacher when you did something. You can import it into another project. So if you're making, say, a student film, you can then import this into a larger project you're working on. Or you can use something called maximum render quality. So what this does is that it does an extra render of each image as it goes through to give a clearer sort of image quality. I suggest that you select this option for maximum render quality. Now, you can queue it for a later date if you want to, and also will give you an estimate file size. So mine says 40 megabytes, which is not that large really. Now, before you hit the export button, it's really important to note that if you have a machine that's slightly underpowered, that you close down any applications you're working on now. So that can be any application at all. And then when you render this or export it, that you do not touch your machine. That's my general advice. If it's not under power in terms of you're working off a laptop, I would also suggest that you have your power adapter nearby, because exports can take quite a bit of power out of your machine. You'll find that your battery life will be very low if you're rendering a very large image. So once you're happy and you're ready to render, I would then hit the export button. And then what will happen is you'll have an estimated time window at the top here. And you can see my window of time is not too large because my video project is quite small. Okay, you can see that my video has finished exporting. If you happen to have had your software freeze up, there could be a couple of reasons. The most common reason, as I said before, is you don't meet the minimum requirements for Adobe Premiere Pro. Another reason is that you were trying to work on another application. Premiere Pro will use as much RAM and CPU as possible because it is quite a complex piece of software. Otherwise, you could restart your machine. Sometimes that helps out. Once you've exported it, you can double check it by going to the source location of where you saved it to. So I'll go to my location. And then you'll see mine's an MP4. And my video has no sound, so you won't hear it. But you can scrub through, check it. Okay, looks good for me. Then what you can do is, if you're not happy, is you can make additional changes, and then you can export again. And you can do this as many times as you want, but be careful. Exporting does use quite a bit of your battery life and requires a lot of your CPU and RAM usage. Thank you for looking at this tutorial. If you have any more questions about how to use Adobe Premiere Pro, please look at my other videos. Thank you.